Welcome back, listeners, to BizBlend, where bold business meets the messy middle of growth, mindset, and what it really takes to lead. Now, today we are cracking open a conversation that many leaders are too afraid to admit they need. A conversation about the invisible rules we follow, the performance we perfect, and the parts of ourselves we have learned to hide in order to succeed. And listeners, my guest built a powerhouse legal career, youngest partner, courtroom dynamo, and the go to fixer when everything was on the line. But she was living a double life. High heels in the courtroom, Latin ballroom sparkles on the weekend, and when her two worlds collided in the Missouri Supreme Court bathroom, mid breakdown, post career defining argument, something fractured. And that fracture, listeners, became the birthplace of strategic unruliness. It is something that, has since helped leaders, creatives, and C suite teams unlock the clarity and power that comes when you stop trying to fit the mold. And that's what exactly we are going to discuss, talk about today in this episode of This Blend with your host, Sana. So, listeners, this isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is about unapologetic originality and how it drives results you can actually measure. So let's quickly get into it and let's welcome our guest, Kim Bolourtchi. So, Kim, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Senna. I'm so excited for this conversation with you.
Absolutely, absolutely, and really, really excited to explore the strategic unruliness. But before that, Kim, you mentioned about the invisible rules that leaders unconsciously follow. So if we can throw some light on, let's say the most dangerous rule that you see people following, and what makes it so hard to break.
So here's the thing about the invisible rules. The reason that they're so hard and dangerous is that they start when we're really, really young. They're things that we're told when we're little, like safe is better than sorry, or something is better than nothing. So that's one that I heard a lot when I was a little girl. And so we grow up thinking that it's better to have something even if it's not good, even if it's not what we really want, but at least we have something. So we're going to settle for something even if we really really want something else. And so a lot of times leaders, entrepreneurs, founders will build an entire business with that limit in mind. Every time they want something more, they're thinking, I kind of want something more, but actually, what I have is good. I should be grateful for what I have. Something is better than nothing. I should just be okay here. And so the limit is very dangerous in that it keeps us from achieving our true potential. And that's really and it's hard to see because it's so much a part of who we are.
Hmm. That definitely makes it actually makes sense, and this is something we I mean, especially entrepreneurs and founders, they may not immediately realize or notice. And Kim, very very interesting story journey behind the origin of strategic unruliness. So if you would like to share maybe a glimpse of that with all of us.
Of course. So I actually it's funny that I talk about strategic unruliness now because I was one of the most rule following people you've ever met in your life. I grew up really, I grew up trying very hard to do everything the right way. I wanted to be really successful. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to achieve just, tremendous notoriety in my life. And so I set about to do that in all the ways I was told. I would ask, what is the thing I need to do to achieve the next level? Tell me the rule, give me the playbook, and I would do exactly that thing. And so I became a lawyer, which is a very ruly profession, right? And so in that capacity, I was buttoned up, I was professional, I was fierce, I was the go-to person when anyone needed anything. And I created this persona that was so unbelievably strong. But what people
Mm.
didn't know is that I had this secret. I was also a professional Latin dancer. And I would
Oh.
travel throughout the country on the weekends, and I would compete in high heels and rhinestones and makeup and fishnets. And I was really, really good at it. And I loved it because I had also got this really creative, expressive side. And it was like a secret I would have taken probably to my death had this thing not happened. So I'm standing in the Missouri Supreme Court about to argue the biggest case of my life, and my law partner goes to introduce me to the justices who are sitting there and says, Your Honors, not only is Kim an amazing lawyer, she's also this incredible Latin dancer. And
Oh.
I think my world is ending, right?
Oh,
I can't
no.
believe he has just told them my secret. And so I get through the argument, I'm sweating through my clothes, completely mortified, and I run to the bathroom when it's over. And I'm standing there thinking, all the credibility that I've built, all of this time that I spent creating this person everybody respects and likes and goes to for hard things just crumbled. And I'm done. And I'm standing there looking in the mirror, holding on to the sink for dear life. And one of the Supreme Court justices walks in. And
Mhm.
she sees me, and I'm thinking, "Oh my god, she's gonna tell me that was so unprofessional. You're the worst. This is terrible." And instead, she yells, "Oh my god, you're in here. I'm so excited to see you. Tell me all about your dancing. It's the coolest thing I've ever heard." And in that moment, it was like, "Wait, everything that I've believed, these 2 worlds I've been living, it's not true. I don't have to hide all of this stuff." And that really was the beginning for me of realizing these beliefs that we hold and the rules that we live by, if they don't help us, then we really, really need to challenge them.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that is, like coming out of the cocoon, the shell, getting out of it and then sharing it out and just be bold and unapologetic. But initially, you definitely felt that embarrassment, that fear. So, uh, did you plan to intentionally keep it tight, especially in the legal circles about your another world of dancing, just because it was not seen as a respectable or something? And I'm just curious to know.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I was so afraid that it would not be seen as
Mm,
respectable or professional, that it would undermine my credibility. I mean, come
mm,
on. Nobody in my mind, I was thinking, nobody's going to trust me with their multi-million dollar lawsuit if they know that I dance like I dance. It just, in my mind, it didn't work together. And, let's be honest, that is reinforced by society.
yeah,
A powerful woman is supposed to look a certain way and act a certain way. And those two things do not go together. A high powered attorney and a siren of a Latin dancer. Those don't exist in the same person in the same way, at least by society standards. And that's what I believed, and that's what I thought. And I'll be honest with you, people would say things to me once I did stop hiding it that reinforced those beliefs. People would say things to me like, "Oh my gosh, well, what do your colleagues think about the fact that you dance?" Or, "You leave your kids to go travel? How does that work?" And my favorite one was, "Your husband lets you dance with another man?" So, I mean, look, there's messages out there about how things are supposed to look. But the thing is that none of those messages help me do my best work in the world. And none of those messages allow me to be the biggest version of myself. And ultimately, they keep me small. And so I chose to challenge those and disregard them because they're not good for me. And that's really what I try to help leaders do is there are all these rules about how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to follow and the path you're supposed to take, but those rules don't know your gifts and talents. They do not know you. They weren't made for you. And so they're limiting you if they're not helping you get where you want to go, truly.
wow, that's absolutely inspiring, Kim. Absolutely inspiring.
Mm.
It's defying the stereotypes. It's uh, going against the status quo and redefining. And Kim, um, how do you think, now let's bring this in the perspective of, especially for all the um, change makers, the entrepreneurs, the disruptors. Um, why do you think, and how is being unruly, um, or kind of going against the norm strategic, not reckless?
So this is an important distinction that I really like to make. So rebellion is reckless, and I love a good rebellion. I lived in that, in my teenage years a lot, where you just when you're rebellious, you're not being thoughtful about the choices you're making. Like we've all been there, where something happens and we just go like, "I'm not dealing with this. I'm not doing this. I'm doing it my way." And you don't really care what happens because in that moment you're just so mad about it or you're just so determined to do it a different way that you do it. Consequences, whatever, who cares? That feeling feels really, really good in the moment, but it isn't always what's best for you. It's kind of
Mhm.
a dopamine hit, right? Where you're like, I'm just doing this thing.
Yep.
Being unruly, strategically unruly, is a thoughtful process where what you're doing is you're identifying what's limiting you. So when you think about what you really want, you have to get clear about what you want. So that's kind of the first thing. But when you start to recognize what's limiting you, the rules that are holding you back, you start to challenge them one at a time. So you're being really thoughtful about it. You're not throwing everything out. You're not saying I'm not doing any of it. You're looking at it and you're saying, does this actually help me or does it hurt me? And then you get to choose whether you want to move forward with it or not. So you're being thoughtful and strategic in the process of breaking the rules. You're not just breaking them for the sake of breaking them. And that's why it works so well. Is because when you break a rule, you're going to get a lot of pushback. You're going to get resistance even from yourself, where you're going to have a moment because you're doing things in a way that haven't been done before. You're going to have a moment where you're like, "Oh my gosh, what am I actually doing here? This feels so uncomfortable." And you need evidence that you're doing it for a reason and that you actually have a process behind why you're making this choice. If it's rebellion, you're not going to have it. You're going to be like, "I actually don't know. I'm going to go back to where it was safe." Our brain is wired for safety. But if you've thought through it and you've looked at the rule and you're like, "Yeah, actually that rule was not made for me. It is not made for this moment, and it really is not helping me thrive. I am choosing consciously to break that rule because I know that it's keeping me from the thing I'm really wanting to do," then that helps you maintain the path when it gets hard and you have to keep going. So it's a very different thing than being
Mhm.
rebellious.
Absolutely. No, no, I absolutely got it. Absolutely got it. It's there is a structure, there is um a flow in this chaotic and messy, kind of perspective to that unstrategic, or this unruliness. And I mean, you have shared your story with us, Kim, and I would also love to know. Our listeners would love to know what's one transformation that you have witnessed, maybe from a client where someone stopped performing and they started leading for real.
So I love that question because I've seen so many incredible things happen. But one of my favorites is I was working with a client who had a successful business. Actually, they were successful. But they just weren't, I like to use the word lit up, like, they just weren't excited. And I kept asking, like, "What is going on? Why, what's bothering you? What's not exciting? What's just like, what's the thing?" And they kept saying, "Everything's fine, everything's good, we're profitable, it's okay." And as we're sort of talking about what they actually wanted, they wanted something completely different than what they had built. Like it was in the same industry, but their dream was to do luxury. They had a retail construction, a construction business, and they were building retail, but like strip mall retail. And they wanted to do luxury, like high end luxury. And when he talked about high end luxury, like his entire body lit up. And he was like, "But we've been in business for 30 years. We've built all these strip malls and restaurants, and our people aren't going to go for luxury. Nobody wants that. I'm not going to get people on board. It's just too big of a thing." And I was like, "But it's what you really want. It's your dream. You're made for it if it's in you." Truly, like, let's just forget about the rules about it has to look a certain way and do the thing. And you can make it simultaneous. It's not an either or. You can keep what's kept you, making you money, but also start to build this thing. So we made a plan to build it on the side and kind of like take a piece and make that happen. And the amazing thing was he was so worried that people weren't going to get on board, that this was too big of a shift, that it was too big of a bite. But his excitement over doing what he really wanted to do created excitement in the company, and people started putting extra time, extra energy, extra ideas, coming forward with like, "Hey, this is how that piece can work, and this is how we can build that, and here's an idea." It became profitable in 6 months, something they had no foundation for whatsoever, and in 3 years took over the company revenue, became the thing the company was known for, even though they'd been in business for 30 years doing something else.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what happens when you honor what truly, truly matters to you and you know why it matters to you. Because people get so inspired and excited to be part of that, as opposed to the belief that there's only one way to succeed. And that if you're succeeding by other people's standards, you should just be happy with whatever you have. If you can dream it, you can imagine it, it's yours for a reason. And I've seen that over and over and over.
I can feel that conviction. Can and then let's talk about how it can be identified. So uh, you had your unraveling moment in the Supreme Court bathroom. How can high performers, um, how can they recognize when they are reaching their own breaking point? Even if it looks like success on the outside, there is consistency. Okay, everything is fine. I don't need to, make any changes. How exactly can we recognize that?
So, the first thing I'm gonna say is I would encourage everyone to try to pay attention to this before you hit a breaking point, because it's available to you in every moment. Right now, as you're sitting here listening, you have available to you the information that you need. And so what you need to do is pay attention to this feeling in your quiet moments of there's something more. It's a feeling, I call it unsomething because it's different for everyone. But it's this feeling of I'm doing everything right. I've checked all the boxes. I'm walking down the road I was told to walk down. Like literally, I've done everything I've been told to do and everything I know how to do. And yet I feel like there is something missing. It's unsatisfied, unfulfilled, unhappy. It's unsomething. And it hits a little bit different from everyone, but our instinct is to push it away. Our instinct is to not hear it at all, to be like, "No, no, no, everything is fine. I'm good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing," just to ignore it. But that is your signal. That feeling that we don't wanna hear, that we don't wanna listen to, is literally telling you, "Hey, just hear me out, pay attention to me, hear what I have to say." And the best news about it is that if you listen and you don't look away to whatever it tells you, you can always choose not to do anything with it. But at least you've heard it and it tells you, you know, there's a direction I really want to go in that I haven't pursued, or there's something more I could bring to what I'm doing now that I just haven't thought is valuable. And actually, it might be. Maybe I should just play with that a little bit. Or this idea that keeps coming up and up and up that I keep suppressing, maybe I should give that a little bit more attention or invite someone else into the conversation. It's that feeling that is the signal. And if you don't have it at all, then, you might be really, really good where you are. You don't need to go search for it. But if you feel it, even in the slightest, I would encourage you to just give it some space to come to the forefront and hear what it has to say.
What's beautiful, Kim. That's beautiful. I really love the word unsomething.
Well,
So
it's so hard to define because for me, it felt, when I was practicing law and I realized I really, really felt pulled towards something different. I really wanted to start consulting and speaking and doing this whole other thing. it was this feeling of unfulfilled. I had done everything I'd been told to do. I was checking all the boxes. I had success in a life that other people looked at and were like, wow, you've made it. This is great. And inside, I just was like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. Something must be wrong with me because I don't feel that way deep down. And so, I identified it for myself as unfulfilled, but I've talked to other people and they're like, I'm just unhappy. Or, I'm just it's a something that is different for everyone. And I don't ever want to define it in a way that's unrelatable. So it's more just that, if it's an pay attention to it.
Mm. Well, absolutely. And I just, I mean, before we wrap up, Kim, I just want to bring in a little bit of, um, nuanced perspective into this. So, um, you know, because people, not everyone is same. So this radical, expression, or let's say if an entrepreneur or a business leader is feeling that or having that realization that okay, we I had something which I thought okay, this might be too much risky, so I haven't taken any actions yet, but now I am ready to uh you know throttle, full blow throttle and make changes and everything. Could this actually become a new form of ego driven leadership, one that makes it more about the leader than the mission? What if your team members, they are not ready to embrace the change?
That's such a great question. And
Mm,
I would say this. I think that when you are when you're really, really clear
mm,
about, you know, what it is that you see, it it isn't just about you. And so I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm glad you brought that up because I want to clarify this. The seeing thing, I wanna do this, it's always in service of something. When you're building something, it's always in service of something, and if you have a team, when you're really clear on, "I wanna build this, and this is why I wanna build this," and it's the next version of the thing, right, and you know what it really is. When you're really clear about that and it's your company, you're the entrepreneur, you're the founder, and you can explain to people, excuse me, why it matters, why it helps people, why, whatever service you're providing in the world, whatever you're doing in the world is of value to someone. And you can invite your team to bring their full gifts and talents into that, understanding why what they bring matters. People can opt in or they can opt out. What happens, I think, most of the time is when leaders are unclear about what it is that they want, they have a thought and then people try to execute on that thought and then the leader shifts and it changes and people are trying to please and do what they think they're supposed to do, but it's not the thing because it's already shifted in the leader's mind. And so the leader's thinking like, why do my people not get it? And the people are thinking, I am busting my rear end trying to do the thing I thought we were doing and now it's not right. And
mm,
so this all starts our conversation started where I said you have to be so, so clear. It's not just clear within yourself, but you have to be able to communicate really clearly with your team what it is you see and why it matters. So they can decide whether they love what you see and why it matters and opt in to be part of that, bringing all that they have to the table to contribute to that. Or they might see it and be like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't like it. I don't want it. Yeah, that's not really for me, which
yeah.
ultimately frees people up to go do something that is.
Mm. That once again, it definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense, and I think this is how uh, strategic unruliness, it definitely serves the vision. So, Kim, if our listeners, they would like to connect with you and explore more about strategic unruliness and the work that you are doing, what will be the best way to do that?
LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me. I love chatting with people there and also through my website, kimballurtchi.com.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes for our listeners. And Fu Kim, this has been such a refreshing conversation. It really, I think strategic unruliness isn't about chaos or being reckless. It's about claiming the parts of you that actually drive innovation, culture, and results. So thank you so much for having this conversation. It was amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed talking with you. I appreciate being on your show.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, and to all the listeners. We have all been told to play the game, polish your pitch, shrink your fire, and lead like someone else already did. But today's conversation cracked that wide open. If something in you is whispering, there's more. Listen to that voice because it's not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is remembering who you are before the rules told you otherwise. And to connect with Kim and explore more about her framework, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. And if you found this episode challenging, refreshing, or a little uncomfortable, good. That means it worked. And this is BizBlend, where we lead different. And I'm your host, Sana. Thank you.